today we are going to go over the Atlas Locker addendum and the proposal that has been put out for some of the changes to that Atlas Locker. This is just the early stage of discussion, and it was quite literally requested that the community post their comments and thoughts on this proposal. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. It's going to be a long form today. I'm going to go through each of the 11 points. I don't know if anybody was watching the Atlas Brew 146 when Wagner started talking about the different addendums, and he referenced addendum 11. I literally got giddy. I was like, "Oh yay, we got a lot of things to talk about today." I kind of nerded out for a little bit, so I hope everybody else is in that same place because we're going to go through each one of those, and yeah, it'll probably be a longer conversation. But I'll give you all of my thoughts, and feel free to leave your discussion points, thoughts, and opinions in the comment section below. And also check out the Discord page for Star Atlas and leave your thoughts there. Make sure that the team hears what the community thinks about all this. They have straight out asked for that, and um, in the past, Automata has done a great job of listening to the community, and taking feedback, and actually having it have an effect on what they ultimately do with the development of the game. So it's meaningful. This is not like a lot of other gaming communities, ignoring the game players the way some other communities do. Star Atlas actually does a phenomenal job of listening to what we think and taking that and using the community as an asset to develop a better game. So let's get into this. The addendum A1, the Atlas Locker tier structure. Okay, so we are revamping the current 5-tier locker system to include 7 tiers. The 2 new tiers that have been added to the locker are highlighted in the chart below. The addition of these tiers allows to provide benefits to a subset of token holders who were otherwise disincentivized from locking under the previous tier structure, specifically smaller holders with a balance less than 10,000 Atlas and larger holders with a balance greater than 5.6 million but less than the largest tier requirement. And I absolutely understand that because I would put myself in that second category, and have had a lot of thoughts about why that jump was so big. But let's talk about the new tier 1 locker. I think I would be for that. So a lot of these addendums, I'm going to say, I'm either for it or against it, and then why. So for this 1,000 Atlas locker, I think I'm going to be for putting that in. Um, it in From my perspective, I think it has the biggest bang for the buck in regards to the volume of potential players it can affect, and would encourage to lock tokens and become more engaged in the ecosystem. And that's essentially what the Atlas Locker encourages, a more active engagement in the Star Atlas ecosystem. When you have Atlas locked, you're going to pay more attention to it. And for the very small wallet that our token holders, with 1,000 Atlas is at today's market about $1.80. Okay, so that's a very small amount of assets to be locked in. Pretty much anybody could do that if they chose, and to start being able to benefit from being a part of the Atlas Locker, building this group or this club of people that are in an Atlas Locker and get benefits. I think that's good. I think that brings more attention and focus for the largest volume of people. Okay, so yeah, I'm in favor of the locker tier 1, and then I also am in favor of the locker tier 6 at 22.6 million. And the reason I'm right now, I think I'm sitting at locker tier 4, and I'm working on getting to tier 5. When I was looking at the different tiers, the dollar amounts, I saw 72 million, and it's just so much farther away from where I am with the amount of assets that I want to put into the game. How close I am from where I am right now, all the different ship assets and crew members that I have. Do I want to reallocate my assets, sell off from one to the other, and put in Atlas and stake it for a while? Um, the 72 million just it wasn't even it wasn't enticing at all. It was more of a disincentivizing wall than a goal to reach towards. Now, dollar wise, 560,000 is about $1,000. Um, and 5.6 million, that's 10,000. 22.6 would be 40,000. That's a huge chunk. And it's a big jump from 10,000 to 40,000, but 72 million is close to 129,000. Okay, so as the tiers were from tier 5 to 7, that is like a 10 multiplier to get up to the next tier, and that is a big jump for anybody. If you're going to be shifting into that category of investment into the project, that's a huge jump. But from $10,000 to $40,000, it's a big chunk of money, but that is much closer. Psychologically, it seems like a reach goal, if that's where you are. So I think adding that in is actually going to become an incentivizer to work towards that next tier versus that psychological wall. So yeah, definitely for A1 and all those parts. A2, crafting fee discounts. Users are required to pay a fee to the Council of Peace for each crafting job in Sage. This locker feature allows users to receive a reduction in the fee as their locker tier increases. For locker fees, and there's a couple different types of fee discounts. For fee discounts, I am generally in favor of, just as a concept. Like I said, if you think of the Atlas Locker as a club or rewards membership, like at a hotel, like a Hilton or a Sheraton rewards um, membership. Uh, that's something that everybody at least understands, and it's a system that is tried and true. It's a good incentive structure where you get discounts for upgrades, exclusive access to different dining services and that kind of thing, and that's very good. So these discounts I'm generally for. The question I have here is why you have Locker One, a Tier One, at zero discount. Okay, that's just entry level. There will be benefits in other different parts of the addendums, um, but then you go Locker Tier Two jumps to 10%, 10% discount on crafting, and you know Tier Two is still as a small player, and I think it's good to have the biggest benefit um, in these discounts for these fees to be at the smallest player, because the game, the way it's set up, it's a harder game for the small player to make a profit, to be able to operate, because they don't have the economies of scale that a big wallet player, a big whale, would have. Um, and so there's a good thing for having additional benefit for the smaller players, but you see it jumps from 10%, and then it goes up the 2.5% increment to tier 1 and a tier 3, and a tier 3 player, that's at the moment roughly $126 locked, which is substantially more than your 18 at tier 2. But it's not 10% and then another 10%. It's 10% and then an additional 2.5%. So I question whether the additional benefit is really incentivizing people to go to tier 3, right? Well, the biggest benefit is just go tier 2, put $18 in, and you get the biggest benefit. What if, here's my thought. What if you were to start at 5% and worked each tier up to tier 7 at 22.5%? That would look closer to starting at 5% for tier 2, which is substantial, and then incrementally that would be an additional 3% each tier. So tier 2 gets a reduction in fee of 5%, and then tier 3 gets an additional 3%, and so forth and so forth. So those other amounts you get incrementally a smaller percent per tier that you jump up, but you're working at a larger economy of scale, and so the ultimate dollar amount is still attractive. And locker tier 22.5% discount fee, I think that's pretty substantial overall. So that's my only question. I am for A2, but I wonder about the actual percents that they chose. Why did you start where you did? Okay, so A3 is reduced respawn time. Now this one's very interesting. I think this could be the biggest dark horse as far as how it affects gameplay, and which tier you're actually belong in. So when a user respawns in Sage, they're required to wait a predetermined amount of time before they can reuse the fleet that respawned. This feature will allow users to reduce the amount of time to respawn a fleet by amount based on their tier. So let's take a look at these tier reductions. So you start off tier 1, no change, which I wonder, maybe tier 1 should get some kind of a discount in respawn time because you're part of the club, right? Locker 2 is at 30%, then 35, 40, 45, 47.5, and 50. Okay, a 50% reduction in time to respawn. Now, there's some unknowns here. How long are the respawns going to be? If you're talking about a respawn time of like 10 minutes, the actual time that it's going to change, the amount of time that tier 7 is going to respawn before tier 1 is, on the order of 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, that's not a huge change to the game. But if the respawn time is closer to like an hour, well, if I respawned, and the respawn time is an hour, and I reduce that by 50% because I'm a tier 7, you're going to respawn in 30 minutes, whereas a tier 4 would respawn in 39 minutes. So a 9-10 minute difference. And so if we go over, I just put this up on Sage, and I 10 Atlas units, so 10 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That equals 35-minute travel time, and this is a ray fam. So as far as the speed of ship is going to change things a little bit, but 35 minutes it's going to take to get 10 squares, and so respawning and be able to get back, if it's a longer amount of time, that's going to be a much bigger change to whether a tier 7 is going to be able to get back to whatever area, maybe the the combat or get back to gathering the resource versus a tier 1. A 30 minutes, uh, this is where tier 1 is going to be when they respawn, and this is where tier 7 is going to be able to get to. So 10 AUs is a pretty substantial with a respawn time of 1 hour. I hope you're able to follow that. I can be getting a little bit convoluted in how I'm describing that, but just wanted to try to give you a visualization of what that looks like in terms of what that respawn time would look like in gameplay terms. How far can you get in this kind of time frame? So the unknown is how long is your respawn time and how big of an effect is that going to be. If respawn times are really long, an hour, 2 hours, I don't know, then these percents, I don't think they should be so big, um, because that could be a huge change in gameplay. If they're shorter time frames than these large, I see them as larger percents of respawn time. I think that's fine. Um, so, kind of that's my question. How long? How long is the respawn time? Okay, so A4, we have NPC Merchant Reputation. This is kind of cool. Um, Participants in this module gain access to exclusive NPC pricing for in-game goods. This may also result in the users receiving a locker exclusive items available for purchase and sale. For example, a user might be able to sell a Sage infrastructure contracts to an NPC for 10% higher price than they would if they were participating in the locker. Likewise, they may be able to sell or buy an item from that merchant that would not otherwise be available. A user must be at least a Tier 1 locker to begin the benefits from these perks. Other gameplay-related requirements may apply for certain pricing perks. The perks change based off of availability. Okay, so I think that's also neat. Again, very similar to the way that a reward system would work in your typical hotel rewards program, and this makes a lot of sense. I would be for A4. I think that brings a value to the Atlas Locker as a meaningful thing to be a part of. Give you a good financial and social reason to be a part of it. So yeah, A4 I like. Um, I'm really don't know what I would change about that. I think a little bit more detail um, on specifically what those NPC deals are. It's not as precise as some of the other tables that we have for the fee discounts. This seems to be a little bit more open-ended. I would like um, some more definition to what these actually are talking about, what the details are. That's the only thing. A5, the Sage recipe access. This is cool. I like this one. This feature will allow users to craft locker-specific assets in Sage. These assets would be improved versions of assets that already exist in the game. For example, a more efficient fuel recipe than the recipe currently available. Alternatively, an exclusive recipe could be a cosmetic item like a poster or a ship skin that is only available to those actively engaged in the Atlas Locker. Other gameplay related requirements may apply for certain exclusive recipes, and then those different perks and recipes might change depending on availability. Okay, this again, I think that's a cool that that gives a little bit more variety to what benefits, what the Atlas Locker benefits look like. I think that brings more interesting concepts to the game and different ways for Automata to encourage people to play. Think about how playing different games, over the course of the year, people kind of wear out. It's the same thing again and again. You need to, create a little bit of spice, a little bit difference, something to look forward to. Your seasonal skins, your holiday skins, and that kind of stuff. This would be a great avenue to be able to present that stuff and keep the game fresh and new. And so I'm definitely for that. I'm trying to think of any negatives here, any negatives with this, because if we had the Atlas Locker Tier 1 with 1,000 Atlas, it's a very low bar to uh, to become part of the Atlas Locker. I think that making it that easy does not alienate, the players that are not as involved in the game, because pretty much anybody who wants to play the game more than a day trial run can be a part of this without too much problem. Yeah, that's my thought. So A6, Sage, in-game virtual assistant improvements. Ooh, virtual assistants, so cool. That's a real big narrative right now is AI agents, and it's great to see Star Atlas being, continue to be on the cutting edge of this type of stuff. And now the technology is here. Wagner did mention that they have someone they brought on specifically in the team for working on AI um, integration into both the development and integrating AI as an agent for players. So this feature allows users to gain access to a Star Atlas virtual assistant AI. This asset will provide the user with help managing their fleets and operations, such as mining, crafting, and other feature gameplay releases. More details on the Star Atlas virtual AI assistant will be released in the future. Pip it and ship it. Get this one in the game as soon as possible. I think that's great. I mean, Star Atlas is a complicated game. All right, let's be honest. It's a complicated game. It is not a simpleton's, number punching type of game. There's a lot of different moving parts to it, and sometimes it can get overwhelming. Sometimes you buy too many ships because it's so fun. Or, I mean, we haven't even really gotten into having to utilize all the crew members. I mean, there is a lot of stuff going on, and it can be very complicated very quickly. And so, having these AI agents to make that process, that managing process, a little bit smoother, make it feel like you have somebody that's there helping you. I think that's going to make the entire game experience a lot smoother. So yeah, A6. Let's put a star on that one and get that in the game as soon as possible. That is my thought. And if anybody is against A6, I will fight you. All right, moving on. A7, blockchain fee subsidy. This one is it's a really cool concept. I have some cautious thoughts, but overall, I think I'm for it. In Sage, because all actions in the game are recorded and approved on Solana blockchain, each action requires a small amount of rent or gas to be paid by the user. This locker feature allows users to have some or all of this fee subsidized by the Star Atlas DAO. Alternatively, the burden of the network fee on day-to-day gameplay operations. Um, at this time, the Star Atlas DAO generates enough income to cover all of Sage blockchain transaction fees by roughly 4 times. Okay, so 4x, which tells me, the Star Atlas DAO can afford to do this. But my one caution here is it makes 4x the soul, or yeah, the soul fees for transaction fees on Sage right now, and that's fine. But keep in mind what the ambition is for the Star Atlas DAO. Right now, we don't have a lot of pips coming through. We don't have a lot of activities that cost money that the DAO will have to pay for. And so, you know, there's not a lot pulling on those resources. But how much more ambitious is the community going to get with the Star Atlas DAO, and therefore, how much more of those funds are going to be required? Um, 4x, that means if we did this, that would take up 1/4 of the resources that the DAO makes, okay, on a daily basis. That can be substantial uh, if we pick up or we take on some larger projects that might take a year to fund. It's going to take, a year and 3 or 4 months if we pile this big expense on. However, um, I am for this, especially at this point, because this is really, I would say this is a pivotal moment in the relationship between the community, the individuals in the community, and the community as a whole, represented by the Star Atlas DAO. Um, you know, Individual players have been dedicated. They have put time um, and fortunes into the development and progression of the game. And this would be the first real big moment that the DAO itself is able to repay that, or to return value to all those members. The community giving back to the community members. I think that would be a big moment, and I would be for that. Definitely right now. Um, you know, if the ambition of the DAO to do bigger projects starts to become impeded by this, maybe we look at it and adjust numbers in the future. But having an ecosystem max of 10 Sol and these different transaction fees per player per day, I think those definitely for the small players would go a real long way to make that a more profitable proposition, something that would definitely be make it more worth their time. So yeah, I think this one helps the small player uh, more so as well. And I think generally speaking, that's good for the growth of the ecosystem. Yeah, that's my thoughts. Now, faction fleet, A6 or A8. I am going to be against this one. Okay, I've been for pretty much all of these addendums for the most part. Uh, A8, I am going to be straight up against, and let's just get into it. In Faction Fleet, users spend some portion of their Atlas earning from ships on in-game resources commonly referred as R4. These resources keep the ships running and emitting Atlas. By increasing locker status, users will have the ability to decrease the amount of R4 that their ships consume. While we continue to update and incentivize participation in our active game loops, we understand the preferences of some players to remain passive until those game loops reach feature completion. This addition helps to serve the needs of those players and will likely be the last feature update added to the legacy program. Okay. And I sympathize with the people that do choose to stay in that faction fleet score gameplay. It's a very passive version of being part of the Star Atlas community. And there's some people that they would not want to be a part of the feature incomplete game loops in Sage, and I absolutely sympathize with the frustration of working and playing a game that sometimes breaks down. I have hit my head against the table many times because of those frustrations. So, with compassion to that, I think it's absolutely fine that Faction Fleet it remains open and exists, that we don't deprecate it yet. But I don't think that adding incentives to being there is what we should be doing. The ultimate goal has always been to deprecate completely the faction fleet and to move people into Sage and UE5, right? So that is where the incentive should be. I think the safe haven should still exist for the people that don't want to uh, do the added engagement of required by Sage. I'm totally fine with that, but I'm not going to support incentivizing people to stay there or to move back there. Not that people really would move back there, but um, yeah, I just think the incentive should remain in the direction that we want to move the game, that the game has always been intended. That's nothing new and shouldn't shock anybody who this affects. People that want to stay in that faction fleet gameplay. Yeah, so that's a big no for A8. And if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Um, and I will be happy to explain why you are incorrect. So, A9, ship lending liquidity. Now, here's another one I think is going to have a decent amount of discussion, and I want people to think this one through. I'm still thinking this one through. I'm not set in where I lay here, but I think I'm going to be against this. Okay, so let's read through it, and I'll explain why. The liquidity that is locked in this feature will be used to rent out unsold primary ship inventory into the Sage ship rental market. Token earnings from the ship rental made in this way will be distributed back to the locker participants according to their locker tier or locking tier. Users must have been locked for an entire day to receive a pro rata portion of the rental fee. Partial days are not rewarded. For example, if the user locks a day on day one, they will not receive any fee distribution for day one. Their first split will come at the end of day two. Suppose they unlock halfway through day four, they will receive uh, tokens for day three and nothing on day four. Okay, the way that they laid that out, I think, is very smart. Not allowing partial day locks for people to game the system, to jump in and get some portion and then jump right back out. I think making that is smart. The concern that I have, and the way that this breaks out is, you know, it says tier one crafting fee discount. So I'm not exactly sure. Maybe that just means they don't get a discount or an incentive there. And locker 2 through 7 get proportional shares of the income from the rented primary ship inventory. The concern that I have is that there is a lot of primary ship inventory that is unsold on the market. If they were to make the primary ship inventory available 100% or even just a large portion of it, there is such a large volume of ships that are unsold on the market that the large players, the big whales, even if they're able to make a very small margin, would be able to game that system and rent out near 100% of those ships, which is a massive volume of resources that would now be able to be mined each day. The velocity of resources that is going to be put onto the market above and beyond what's happening right now, I think would be very hard to control, predict, but control, and if it's too big, too fast, it would throw off the entire market. I don't think this is a good idea to unleash any large portion of the primary ship inventory right off the bat. And let me show you why. Let me show you this. We're going to look at Nancy and the marketplace. So we are on the marketplace, and we've got the Calico Ship It, and we have 1,700 units unsold in Atlas. You have another 1,600 unsold in USDC. So let's imagine, so let's go to Nancy. Nancy tells us that the Ship It has 11,363 cargo capacity. Thank you, Afia, for putting together these great tools. Nancy and the flip side dashboard. Let's take a look at titanium ore. Okay, titanium ore is selling for 0.0. Let's see here. Yeah, 0.002655 Atlas. If I had the funds to rent 100% of those Calico Ship Its, which if you're operating on, you have a lot of funds to do this with, and you can make a profit margin, then it makes sense to buy or to rent at a much lower cost than it would take to buy the ship. You would rent at a very low cost and be able to make a margin. You would maximize that out as much as you can. So I would put down however much I need in order to rent out that 1,700 ships, and I would have, let's see here, 11,000. So let's say I decided to rent out just the ones in Atlas, 1,700. Let's just do easy math. 1,700 at 11,363. That's going to be 19,300,000 in cargo capacity. I send that to mine titanium, and each load is going to be able to put an extra 19 million on the market. Trading volume right now is 24 million. Okay, so even if I did that once a day, I'm just shy of doubling the amount of volume of titanium. Do you think that that is going to have a significant impact on the price of titanium? Yeah. And here's the thing. We also have, where is it? Rambo we have arcs. There's 81 arcs there, 75 arcs there. That's roughly the same amount as the Ship Its. Another 12, I think, for 81, that's about 12 million cargo capacity. So 24 million cargo capacity for if I were to rent out all the Rainbow Arc. That is a huge difference. A massive volume that could be unloaded onto the market and would shake up the inflation of whatever resource it is that I want to go after like that. Be it titanium, copper, it doesn't matter. The volumes right now would be completely shaken up by that. That's my concern. Now, is that going to happen? I can't guarantee it. However, I have seen this community. I have seen the people that understand the numbers. Um, and if they can make a profit margin, a positive profit margin, and they know how to scale up the production like that, that's what people are going to do. It's going to happen. So unleashing that entire volume through rental would be very dangerous. So on principle, I would be against A9. Um, Definitely to start out with. Um, with the rental market just coming online, I believe March 5th is when they said that we're going to have access to renting ships, which I'm so excited about because that does, I think that's going to bring a lot more activity, help people utilize their assets a whole lot better. It's going to cause a higher volume of resources. Absolutely. There's going to be inflation to that. Um, I think we should look at how it works without access to the primary ship inventory. No access to this to start with for like a month. Let the economy team do their thing, do some market analysis, and then judge what percent, what portion of this primary inventory would be beneficial, if any. Maybe not, maybe none, or maybe we find that there's a massive demand for rental ships, and the current player base isn't able to provide that. And it would be beneficial to have increased volume of resources because we're doing something with it. But we don't have any big projects to burn those assets into, right? The Golden Carnival is wrapping up. We only have what, one or two? That's coming to a close, and that was that's really the biggest asset burn. Um, the Most of the star bases are fully upgraded, or at least they've reached the minimum threshold for the SDUs. That's the only thing that people are waiting on in order to upgrade those star bases. So the demand for resources is kind of low right now until we start getting combat and destruction. I there's not a whole lot of uses, and so that inflation, uncontrolled, I think that would end up being pretty dangerous. Okay, so no to A9. Big no here. Um, Let me know what you think about that. Um, Maybe in all that uh, you know hard brain work that I just went through, maybe I'm missing something, but I think that's something to be concerned about. Okay, so fleet rental fee discount. Now the fee discount, like I said, all the other fee discounts, I'm generally for that. So A10, I'm for this one. The percentages, we'll look at that, and that's really the only question I have. So the Sage Fleet Rental Program allows users to rent out fleets on the open market, which are rented by other users for a daily price. 10% of the daily price is paid as a fee to non-user parties. This module provides users with a percentage point discount based on their tier. So just this one starts locker tier 2 at 5%, then it jumps to 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. um, i'm I'm for the discounts. Again, just adds to the Atlas locker and what its value is to people. And my question is, why did you do these percentages? Why is it starting at 5% and not 10%, like some of the other discount fees? If there was some uniformity or reasoning behind that, that would be good to know. Okay, so now going on to A11, this is the Atlas Locker skill tree, and I think this is going to add the most strategic aspect, the fun to the game. As far as all the dems are concerned, the fees, discounts, and benefits are great. This is, I think, going to actually add something to the fun of the game. And so let's read through this. In addition to the modules listed in the documents, the Atlas Locker will eventually evolve into an equivalent of a skill tree. The initial conceptualization of the design consists of three independent contributing factors towards a point system that can be applied across different modules. First, you have progression cross-pollination. In-game progression for various market-related activities assist with skill tree building. For example, the trading career progression can contribute to points within the Atlas Locker skill tree. The second one is a Locker tier point perks. Atlas Locker tier will provide a specific number of points to be applied throughout the tree. Okay, and then thirdly, the community building investment. Point purchase. Players can purchase skill points directly, exclusively in Atlas, with with the proceeds going to the DAO. All right. So all three of those, that's basically you can grind, you can be a part of the Atlas Locker and get points, and then you can just buy those points. And buying them exclusively with Atlas and having the proceeds go directly to the DAO, I believe that the benefit of that comes to the community offsets the pay-to-play aspect. And not all pay-to-play um, is specifically bad. Um, the way that they've set this up to benefit the community compared to the amount of benefit that they're going to be able to derive from the pay-to-play behavior, I think is mild and well within reason of a healthy game ecosystem. Some people are very particular about the pay-to-play concept. I think this is totally acceptable from my opinion. Again, comment in the comment section below if you disagree. Across these separate mechanics, both players and Atlas Locker participants can get access to various features that are presently exclusive to the locker itself, providing opportunities for players to grind points and determine how best to allocate them based on their specific gameplay style. As the Atlas Locker skill tree expands, it is unlikely that any player can get access to every benefit, even if they have participated across all three point creation mechanics in introducing strategy to the entire system. Great. Yes, I think the way that this is laid out and preventing uh, people from getting 100% of the skill tree points and just spray it around all the different fields, I think that brings the strategy into the game. It makes people, even if you've maxed out, you still have to make decisions. There's still consequences. Those points, I know psychologically, the way that I've played games like this, where the points, I've played various games that some of the points you're able to reallocate, and you grind until you finish filling out that point skill tree, and then like there's nothing else, right? That the game actually kind of loses its interesting strategic gameplay aspect. Whereas other games where the skill tree, it's a limited amount, you have to pick your points and you have to really think what kind of character am I going to build here? What kind of game do I want to play? I can't play all different types of games. I can't have everything. I have to pick what I want, and that actually brings value and meaning to the decisions that you make. That's the kind of game that I like to be around, and I think that brings longevity to the game and this specific aspect. So that bringing value to the game and making it more fun, I think that's great. I'm definitely for A11, the skill tree and the way that they're going to build that over time. I would support that wholeheartedly for sure. And then just looking at the summary table, you can browse through this and just see how the different parts, different addendums, and the percentage discounts and um, how their layout. I would like to hear from Chris as far as why they chose the different percentages, why, for the Sage crafting discount, they started at 10%, and the Sage fleet rental fee discount, they started at 5%, and then they went by different increments, 5% to 10% versus 10% to 2 point or 12.5%. Um, just a little bit more reason why. I think otherwise, the whole way that this lays out, it looks reasonable and well thought through. I think more discussion can be had on that, but generally speaking, most of these I agree with. I believe A9 and A8, the ship lending liquidity and the faction fleet, are the only two addendums that I am against. And so that's the entirety of the Atlas Locker addendum proposal. And again, I encourage you to comment in the comment section below, as well as go to the Star Atlas Discord and let the team know what your thoughts are. Now that I've gone through all of this, I'm going to start submitting my comments in the Discord as well. So look forward to talking with all of you fine people, and for everybody that completely agrees with me, um, brilliant minds think alike. So don't worry about liking or subscribing to the channel. Screw the algorithm. But if you can share it with somebody that would find it useful, then today would be a good day. Good morning, Metaverse.